you're in the lead generation business and you're in the sales and service, you don't have a business if you're not lead generating. I would be looking at what you're doing to lead generate. Like if you're sitting around waiting for the phone to ring, you don't have a business.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk-TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. And here we are, we're back. Spring, thanks so much for being here. That's our intro, here we are. But I want to talk a little bit, I'm gonna do a quick intro of you, Spring, and there's so many things that with the help of my assistant and ChatGPT, I was able to rearrange a little stuff, but you know what? It's just what you write is only the best. Spring Benson, the founder and CEO of Utah Life Real Estate Group, a high-powered brokerage team based in Utah. She's had a 20-plus year career, and she had set out in the very beginning to become the best agent in her market. She accomplished that goal early on and shifted focus of a top producing team to build that. In addition to that brokerage and team leadership, Spring is a sought-after coach and mentor. She founded and leads Spring Beat Coaching, where she teaches other agents and team owners how to scale their business. And she believes in community, she believes in the power of proximity. And to do that, she has created Real Estate Spring Break, an annual high-energy conference that blends advanced business strategy with personal development. She's got coaching programs, and she empowers other agents to grow their business and their mindsets. You know, Real Estate Spring Break is not only about real estate, it's about your mind, using things like breath work, sound baths, intensive workshops. And I can say from firsthand experience how mind-changing and life-changing it can be, and how you put everything you do into everything you do, which is really all about Spring Benson. Spring, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I love your energy. We're doing this in Utah. It's early in the morning, and you were on fire. So thanks for starting my morning off so great.
Well, you know what? It was one of the things that I really loved about Spring Benson was the energy that Justin always brought. And I absolutely love that. And so it's what I've been doing my entire career. And that's one of the things that I was able to find and get back over the last few months, which included your event, was I found me again, right? I found my passion. I found what I needed to do to express it and to also, you know, not worry about what others think. So I want to get into Spring Benson and what you do and everything. And I do have a question before we get into that question. And that is, what does TGIF stand for?
For me, well,
right now for this broadcast, what does TGIF stand for?
Well, normally is thank goodness it's Friday, but for me it would be freedom. I love who cares that it's Friday in real estate, right? It's
Right.
I'm about like TGIF. That's a great question. What does it stand for you?
Thank God it's finale. I mean, why wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's finale. I love it. I always think of freedom when I think of F, like the word freedom. Only just because I just think that is so empowering of like when you feel free, everything changes, right? So yeah, great question.
Yeah. And you know, freedom is something that people really are always searching for. I mean, we set goals, but they don't understand that the goal is to get to the next goal. And when you can get to the one goal, it actually frees you up from that goal to get you to the next goal. And then that's freedom. I know that sounded really crazy, but to me, it makes sense anyway, you know?
Well, freedom for me is a lot of things. Like freedom for me is like, I think about it like soul freedom, where you just don't have that mind chatter, or financial freedom, where you can make decisions that that are empowering you, or time freedom that you could do what you want your time. So freedom to me is a lot of different things. But I think when you start looking at it, like, how can I just not have, like, I guess it's more of the soul, like the chatter or the chaos is where there's a lot of freedom that comes into play.
Absolutely. I agree. And you can clear your mindset that, and a lot of things are out there to help us. As we get started on this broadcast, Spring, your story is very interesting. Your story is it's a great story. And why I ask this question every time I do this broadcast is it's really important for people to see that, You know, they see you up on stage, they see you with your great coaching programs and everything that you have, and it's like, wow, how did she do that? I mean, she had it easy or whatever, or you know, what went wrong, or what kind of things went right, and what was her path? So I always ask this question because it means a lot to a lot of people to see that we all start in the same spot. Tell us a little bit about your journey from where you started from to get to where you are today.
Yeah, man, I do have a great story. I have a lot of different pieces of it, but career-wise, I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah, and the culture that I was raised in was a very much you get married, have babies young. And so I met my husband at 19, and my ambition was to have babies and be married. And when I was 23, I got married, 22 or 23, and we moved to an area that had a golf course, like resort, they were selling community off the golf course. And it happened to be that they were hiring. And I was like, that could be fun. Like I could work in the golf course and maybe sell a house here or there and whatnot. I had no ambition
Right.
or what it would turn into, quite frankly, but I'll circumvent the story here. But I got hired. When I got hired, the developer actually was like, "Oh, she's never going to relate to our clientele. Like, why are we hiring this 23-year-old girl, you know?"
Right.
And so for 6 months, I actually worked in the real estate office for free because when you work for a developer, it's the only thing you can sell. And I just shadowed. I listened to this woman. I rode in the back of her car. I sat in the sales center. And then one day, the phone rang, and a gentleman from San Francisco called and asked some questions about a property he saw online. And at the end, I was like, "Well, do you want to make an offer?" And he said, "Yes." So I sold my first property over the phone. I don't think I ever met him in person. And, but what happened is the developer was like, "Oh, she actually can do this." And so they gave me the opportunity, and the rest is history. I worked for that developer until the 2010. So the 08, 09 market hit. And we all know if you were in real estate at that time, the economy just tanked. So I went from selling people vacation homes, like they were their second homes on the golf course or the ski hill, to I all of a sudden was short selling and working
Oh
with the
wow.
institutional lenders on liquidating their assets. And so my world completely shifted of who I was working with. But
Right.
that market actually taught me, Dave, that real estate's always going to sell in any market. Like we all need somewhere to live. The type of transaction you do might be different. So I went from the cash buyer, I never had done I didn't even know what an FHA loan was, to all of a
Right.
sudden doing short sales and foreclosures. But what happened was I I got Realtor Magazine's 30 Under 30 at that time because I think I had an interesting story. I worked in like the small town and I was super successful. And and I had it, and I'll tell the story later, but I have an interesting backstory on my personal life. And so I got the award. And at that time, I was faced with like, what do you want to do? Do you want to continue in this resort market with a brokerage that's now going to go bankrupt, or do you want to move on? And I made the choice to move on to Keller Williams. And KW, like the number one thing they promote at the time was build a team, right? It
Right.
was when the
Hmm.
MREA came out, and
Yep.
so that's why I started a team, was because it was the next thing that I was supposed to do, not necessarily that I had any business starting a team. And I failed forward so many times, man. That team was such a blessing. The team I've had the team now for 15 years, and it's probably taken on 15 different identities of what it's
Hmm.
looked like and whatnot. But that's how it started. It's been a wild ride. And I shared this at spring break. I probably have spent, no hyperbole, millions of dollars of coaching myself because I don't have a college degree. I went to cosmetology school. And so learning, and I never had a job outside of this. And so learning how to be a leader and manage P&Ls and lead flow and all that stuff is all self-taught through coaching. And last year we sold just under 700 homes, and it's been incredibly fun. So
That's a great progression in real estate business. Everybody starts somewhere, And I think one of the biggest things that we're working on, well, we've got different markets. I'm not sure what your market is all about, but I think predominantly now we still have a difficult real estate market, except for some places. And problem for a lot of people is their start, right?
Mhm.
So starting is the most difficult part, and then you have to have a conversation with them. Okay, there's this, and this. Where are you going to build your business from? So
Mhm.
as people are starting out, coming to your team now, do you hire new agents,
Yeah,
Spring?
I love new agents. I think they're great. If Here's the thing, I can teach you real estate, I just can't teach you grit. So if you can have the grit, like I can teach you what to do all day long. And so what we teach, if you're just starting out, like, and I actually feel really fortunate about this, Dave, like working for the developer required me to be there at a certain time, work from their CRM. I had to have my hot list. Like I had to treat it like a job, right? Like
Right.
it wasn't
Yep.
show up at the office and good luck and here's your training manual and I hope you show up. Like it was they were holding their money responsible. And so it taught me out of the gate like how to be successful. So we do the same thing. Like you're required to show up at 8:30 in the morning. We
Mhm.
take you through 2 weeks of a boot camp per se of just onboarding, get you into the systems. We put you in a ton of training. We teach you that how lead flow works and that you're in two businesses. You're in the lead generation business and you're in the sales and service. You don't have a business if you're not lead generating, right? So
Right.
how they can generate leads, how they can service them, and it's been interesting, Dave. What I realized, like you're right, this market is so different and it's really separating the amateurs out from the people who are really willing to work because you have to work. Like it's not like it was a few years ago where you could just answer your phone and from Zillow and open the door and like you have to work. And so it's been a very interesting to see who's crushing it right now and the people that I thought some of them that it would aren't and all that jazz. So
Well, that's the interesting part. And Justin said, in one of his videos that I've seen recently, he says, real estate agents suffer, real estate professionals do not.
mhm.
Right. And I think that's really telling. And I think it's, I don't think it matters what the market is, because having been in the business a long time, like I have been and you have been, we've seen that, there's going to be that same agent throughout. I mean, when you look at a team, you look at the hierarchy of the team and how the pyramid of it works. There's still going to be those people that are going to come in and they're going to, they want to put their best foot forward, but the work ethic isn't there. And it's got a lot to do with mindset. Is there a way to change that mindset of that person that really wants to, but doesn't and won't listen to direction?
Um, I mean, I think anybody can do anything they want, right? But if they're not willing to listen to direction, and try, I mean, they can figure it out on their own. But I think that the fastest way to circumvent anything is to learn from somebody who's already done it. Like Tony Robbins talks about this, and that's why I've spent so much money on coaching. He talks about like find a mentor, find a coach. There's no reason to go reinvent the wheel, right? And so for me, if they're not willing to listen, okay, but I don't know why, like we're not, so in our world, um, if you're coming in on my team, like you're going to come into our ecosystem and do it how we are going to tell you how to do it.
Exactly.
Totally from a place of the, like, we run it as a system. Like we have 90 agents, and to have it be the wild, wild west would be a disaster. So it's just not an option. Now, as you get more experience and you get your business, you want to do it a different way, go for it. But out of the gate, like in terms of how we process and do everything, it is a spring way for right now.
Well,
So,
I asked the question knowing what the answer was for a lot of reasons, and the main reason is that the look, as we both been in business a long time, we've seen agents come in and they want to be in real estate business because they want to make as much money as they can and want to set their own hours. And we know that those are the people that are the 87% that don't make it. And they're also in the 80/20 of the 80 that aren't doing the business. And it's very important to look at the systems, look at everything. When agents tell me that, well, I've been doing it this way for a long time, and as they come into our ecosystem, similar to yours, is, well, I want to do this, and I thought the team would help me, and yeah, the team will help you, but this is how we do things. There's the difference as we go on in the real estate business with what you're doing, what we're doing here at Align is really simple. I mean, this is the way real estate business is done, and this is how we grow our business and we all make money. You agree with that, right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree on all of it. Here's what I will say is real estate is simple. It's just not easy.
Exactly.
And the truth of the matter is that to your point, I think a lot of people do get in of thinking that's going to be one thing and it's something totally different. That's why I'm sure you've heard this if you've listened to any of my things. We have a program called Hello Week. And we bring, if you're a new agent, you come through Hello Week, which is, it's some people are like, why don't you call it Hell Week? I'm like, it's not hell. It is truly what it's going to take to be successful. But we have them come in at 8:30 and we take them through 8:30 to 5 for a solid week. And we show them like what it's like to work in a CRM, what trainings they need to show up to, how many people they need to put in their SOI, how to host an open house, how to shadow an open house, like all the basic things. And it's interesting, Dave, because on day 2, we give them 10 leads from the opt-in system so that they've opted in like through our CRM. And on that night, we want them to call, text just to see if they're willing to like do the work of following up with the leads. And 30% of them the next day opt out. 30%. So let's say I have 10 people come through the door. 77 of them are left. I mean, 7 of them are left on Wednesday because they weren't expecting for it to be what it truly is going to take, and we don't fault them for it. We're like, hey, this is great. Like, best of luck to you in your new endeavor. Because none of them say, oh, I don't want to do this. They all say, oh, my uncle is now opening up a brokerage and he asked me to partner with them, or I've got this better opportunity over here. It's never, hey, I don't want to do what you're telling me to do. But the reason I share that is that, to your point, it is one of those, like, it is hard. It looks shiny, but we will take people through to show them, like, this is what it really looks like. Do you want to do this? Because there's nothing worse than getting them in, like, and 90 days later, we've wasted 90 days because they're not willing to do what it takes.
So are these new agents or new and experienced agents?
Both. So Hello Week is actually, everybody goes through it because, again, it's our system. So we're onboarding them to CRMs. We're showing them exactly, we're putting them through on the different things. Now, if they're experienced, we're not taking them through that they have to call, text, because they obviously have shown that they can sell houses and they're willing to work. Right. But we take brand new. Yeah. We're taking you through the full process of like, can you do this? One thing I've also realized, Dave, we've actually been bringing on a lot of experienced agents lately. And it's because I don't want to say this way, but they need us. Like, we have the structure, we have the lead gen, we have the coaching, we have the energy. Like, this has been a really funky market, like, and they need what we offer. And it's been interesting because I think to myself, like, we've tried to circumvent the process and we're like, oh, they're experienced, they know what they're doing. But it's actually been interesting that most of them don't know what they're doing. Meaning, like, and when I say that, I mean in context of like, they've never sat down and done a real buyer consultation, or haven't been working out of a CRM, or they haven't had to pass off a listing presentation. They've been successful because of who they are and the charisma and their relationship, but they haven't been trained any of the skills. So it's been very interesting to see the different dynamic of what's happening in our market right now of just different types of agents.
Yeah, and I think there's basically, in my opinion, there's a couple of types of agents just like that. There's the agent that, sees what they're doing, that says, okay, well, I did this great job for somebody and they referred somebody to me. And let me just take that and go to the next level and then see how many more people I can get to do that. And that's how they build a business, and they learn their presentations and stuff as they go, and they get better at it. Then there's the agent that gets a deal, maybe by accident, or they get another one and they refer something to them, and they're telling everybody they do business by referral, which they're really not, right? So it's the basis of the person that sees momentum and the motivation of that and how that works, right? And And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. When we start getting more business, and it works off of itself, and the momentum builds from there. And then there's the agent that thinks they're doing better than they are. I
Mhm.
worked with both types of agents, and sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's easy, but as we've gone through with learning about Spring and learning about everything you do. I mean, one of the things you say is going from an agent to a 7-figure COO, and it's a mapped path. And that's
Yep.
basically everything that you're talking about here, right? So when you have agents that you've got, a 6-deal agent, or you got a struggling agent just to make ends meet, or you've got all this other, is there a basic thing that we want to teach them, that we want to give them, to make sure that they're not struggling anymore, to make sure they go from 6 to 12 to 18 to 24? What's the important part there, and what's the secret sauce there?
Oh yeah. So when I say we help agents go from agent to CEO, I'm more of, you're an agent who wants to build a team, or you're an agent that wants to have some leverage. If
Right.
we're talking about the agent who's selling 6 homes to 12 homes to 12 to 24, it's the basics, Dave. Like, it is the basics of, like, if you're selling 6 homes, please don't take this offensive, but you're in poverty at this point in the United States, right? Like 6 homes is not, I mean, it's part-time, or you need to do something different, or level up your skills. So if you are selling 6 homes right now and you're like, I want to go to 12, I would tell you to do a time audit, and an audit of like what you're doing with your time, your skills, everything. So I would be the basics. This is what we teach. Go create the first 200 in your SOI. Like, go create a list of emails, phone numbers, addresses. Reach out to each one of them. Put them on an e-alert. Put them on the listing alert. Um, I would also, if you're at 6 homes, I would be looking at what you're doing to lead generate. Like, if you're sitting around waiting for the phone to ring, you don't have a business. Like, the analogy that I give most is like, because we've all gone to a doctor at some point. A doctor might go to med school, but he will not, or she will not, make any money until they get a patient. Like, you don't see a patient, you're not making any money.
That's
It's the
right.
same in real estate. Like, if you're not working with a client, it doesn't matter if you have your license. So that basic 6 to 12 to 12 to 24 is all the same thing. It is, what are you doing for your lead generation? Are you time blocking? Are you prospecting? And then what we teach is that your business should have either a stool that has 3 legs or a chair that has 4. So if you're doing social media, it's not 1 post a day. If that's one of your lead generations, it's like 7 a day. Like, and you're not doing it here or there. It's, you're posting on your stories, you're posting on your actual feed. You're commenting on people's, however many a day you're going to comment. You're all of that. If you're doing open houses, it's not, you're doing an open house once a week. You're doing an open house maybe twice a week and every week of the month, right? If one of your lead strategies is your SOI, those 200 people, you're actively like in conversation and knowing what they're doing. Like, and I won't go on and on, but what I'm saying is, like, if we're going from 6 to 12 to 12 to 24, 24 even at 48, it's like the same thing. Once we're getting to that, like, okay, you're doing 3 to 4 a month, then there's that conversation of knowing your per dollar per hour activity, of how much money you make per hour, and then starting to get the leverage piece into it of, hey, if you're making 100 grand a year, and you're making roughly $50 an hour, if you can pay a VA to take some of the stuff off your plate that isn't a $50 an hour job, then you should start getting some leverage that way, or a transaction coordinator, or the different things. And so it just depends, Dave, where they're at in their career. But I think this industry, one of the biggest problems with this industry is we're always looking for the next shiny, uh,
Oh, hell yeah.
the next shiny of what I don't have to do to work. And the reality of it is like, you got to work. So whether, if you're going to and pay for the leads and call them back, but you are in the lead generation business, period, the end. Like, and if you're not okay with that, then you're not in the right business.
100%. I mean, I've seen everything that you're talking about, and you use the key word for everyone as far as growth is concerned, and that's leverage, right? There's certain kinds of leverage that help you get from one step to the other. The organization of a CRM and the technology is the most important thing, and you talk about that all the time. I wanted to get into one thing that you've talked about an awful lot, and that's the power of proximity. Talk to me about what you mean by that and how it's helped you grow your business.
Yeah, I want to say one thing on leverage too, really quick. Like,
Sure.
I'm probably the most leveraged person there is. So when I gave you that answer of like, hey, we're helping them grow, leverage is going to be the key to your growth, whether it's Justin's leverage for me, whether it's in my home, like we have a house manager, whether it's somebody who's like, I saw when coming on here, you have your assistant helping you. Like, leverage is how you go create a really big life, right? But you've got to get to the point where you can have the leverage, right? Like, you've got to get to the point where you have enough transactions that the leverage comes into place for you to go grow and scale. In terms of proximity, yeah, that is my number one message. It's on my website. And it's really, I just launched a new community, and it's called Upgrade, and it's about upgrading your life, upgrading your business, upgrading your health. But what I would say to you when I say power and proximity is, you are who you surround yourself with. And a lot of us get caught up in these loops that we run, these cycles, these thought patterns, or like the strongest force in human nature is your identity, is how you see yourself. Like, we get in life what we see ourselves as we see ourselves and what we tell ourselves. And one of the fastest ways to change that, if there's something you want to change, is you change your environment, because you're surrounding yourself with people who are letting you run that same program, that same loop. And so if there's something you want, there's power in proximity. So I'm always like, you are the combination of the top 5 people you surround yourself with. Like, you'll see when people will change jobs, or they'll pay to get themselves in a room or into a coaching environment, or even you and I talked about this offline, real estate spring break. You're like, that was so good. It's a change of environment, right? You got out into a different environment for a couple of days. And so I just tell people, you are who you surround yourself with. If there's something you want and you want to change, go pay for the coaching, go pay to get in the room, go put yourself in the room, and then evaluate who you're spending your time with. Because like, who you spend your time with is who you become. And so there's that power. And sometimes you have to, like I said, I've already said this, but sometimes if you're like, oh, but I don't know how to like, people ask me all the time, like, how do I get in a different friend group? Or how do I change that? I'm like, sometimes you got to pay to get in the room. Yeah. But once you pay to get in the room, then the rest is history. So I would just tell you, if there's something you want to change, if you're like, go find the person. It's never about the how, it's about the who, either that you need to be or who you need to surround yourself with.
I really like that, because, for me, I mentioned to you off camera before we started, was, real estate spring break was extremely important to me. To me, it was honestly, it was life-changing, because of how you run the event, because of who's there. I knew I had to be there because I knew I wanted to be with those people. I wanted to be in that room because I believe in being in the right rooms. The right room is not necessarily going to an event. It's not necessarily going to a seminar. It can be real estate spring break. And I suggest everybody attend that event that ever watches this broadcast ever, because it is the most life-changing, mind-changing event when it comes to real estate and your overall being. I know I sound crazy saying that, but it's the truth, right? But I want you also to think about the different rooms you can be in. And that also means other people, other events, other systems and processes. It's not necessarily coaching, but it could be, for me, it might not work, but for you, it might. I just went through a program called Intensity. It was intense. The metrics were there. And I'm going to think and say that I probably would not have completed it had it not been for my mindset shift from spring break. So putting these two things together helped me incredibly. And it's all because I was in the right room. My history goes back 40 plus years. I've done it all in this business. I've been a broker owner of a legacy broker. I've seen agents that wouldn't do the work, that wouldn't show up, but I've also seen the ones that would, and how we can help them. And I talk about this by proximity, but you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. There is no question. Sorry, I went on and on about that, but that's how important and impressive it has to be to people to see that, because sometimes it just need to be told what the hell to do.
Well, is that, and even too, like, what do they say, Dave, that like you can tell somebody's financial by their zip code, like the zip code they're born in. And obviously you can change that, but like that is how power the proximity, like you're basically, and this is what William Lamb was talking about at spring break, like we are all like our brains control everything, right? Like the brain is the supercomputer that we operate off of. Spring operates off hers, you operate off yours.
Right.
And the programming that you start getting programmed by your surroundings, right? Like, and so if you're in the wrong surroundings, or people that are wanting to be average, or that aren't thinking big, or that are thinking big, or whatever, like you
Right.
become who you surround yourself with. And so once you start realizing, you're like, okay, I get it. And then when you're like, well, crap, because I've done this too, Dave. Like, I've been like, well, I mean, there's been times in my adult life and like, I don't know if I have any friends, or man, that sounds great, but I don't know how to do it. And it's like, sometimes you just got to put yourself out there, like
Yeah.
put yourself in the room. Like how you said, you just showed up. You're like, I didn't know, but the week before I was like, I'm going to be there. That's what it takes, is you being like,
Yeah.
I'm willing to go. I'm willing to put myself in a different environment.
Yeah, it's so important, you know. It's just taking that one step. It could be a jump, it could be a leap, it could be just walking down the street, but that one step is
Mhm.
so freaking important, and it just can do so much for you. Um, it's look, you know what? Being in that right room, being with the right people. Our business, as you said, um, it's not hard. It's just not easy, right? Or I think you said it's simple, but it's not easy.
Simple but not
And
easy.
right, and I agree with that. I mean, there's so many things going on. And you mentioned William Lamb and what he does, and blew my mind as well. I can talk about spring break all day long, but the point is being with the right people. So is it when you talk about the right people, and you have a great team, you have a great organization, and your organization has evolved over the years, right? And you've made some really big changes in your life and in business, right?
Mhm.
You went from you've gone by from working at a golf course or a golf
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
to working at KW, and then you
Yeah.
went to a great organization, and then
Yeah.
you've recently changed to a different organization to really spell it out. You went from Real to EXP, and people saying, what the hell did you do? And now we're seeing other people that you influenced, that you talked to, coming over as well.
Yeah. So fun.
Talk to
I'm
me,
having so much fun right now, Dave. It's great.
Spring, just tell me about the evolution. I mean, people see this, right? So look, I know a lot of people have come into EXP that have left EXP, and this is not an EXP broadcast, but I don't care if you think it is. I don't care, because this is where the pros go to grow, and we've got two examples right here.
Right.
So talk to me about the evolution of your business in relation to your changes through your business.
Yeah. So, yes, and we are not Brandon Brittingham said this last week. He goes, everybody's been EXP'd on, and I'm like, it's so fun. It's this funny analogy. This is not an EXP thing, but I think there's a power in the story, because I think we can all relate to some capacity. So, what ended up happening, Dave, is I built my team up, and in 2019, 2020, I was about 9 years, 10 years into the team. And I just was getting to that point where I was like really stagnant, and there was not a lot of growth happening for me. And I made the decision that I was going to leave KW. But what I did was I made the decision that I was going to go and open up my own brokerage, because I felt like people weren't leaving the team. They weren't leaving me, they were leaving the team. And so I was like, if I go open up my own brokerage, then I can retain all these people that I train and
Right.
get them into production. So I actually opened up my own brokerage for about a year. And at that time, I was exploring EXP, and my husband's in the real estate software space. And so I was seeing like the Dans and the Kyles and all these people going to EXP and crushing it. Well, what ended up happening is on owning my own brokerage, I was like, this is a lot of work for very little return. Like, and it just is like, you have to, the
I know.
return with the boutique is not doesn't make sense. And so I was going to EXP, and then at the time, Real was presented to me, and it was brand new. I was agent 2000 in the company. And I was like, I'm going to take the risk of being the new, getting at the ground floor, like, let's go. Right. And I chose it for that reason. That was the only reason. It had nothing to do with anything more than I was like, I'm going to be the new. Um, it was a beautiful experience. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed who I was in business with. I enjoyed the growth. I personally had my rev share organization, got to over 3,500 agents in that three and a half years. But what ended up happening is somebody about a year ago, EXP brought in their mega players into a mastermind and said, hey, how can we grow? Like, what are some of the things we could do? And it's actually really cool because EXP actually does this now every quarter with their top agents. I'm going next week to this mastermind and stuff. And they said, what are some ideas? And they said, well, what tech can we partner with? How can we improve the lives of our agents? How can we make them better? And the conversation got brought up about Sisu, which is my husband's company. And it was, how could we go? It's the most team friendly, centric, whatever. Let's go partner with them. And so the conversation got brought up of like, what would it look like to do this? And they said, well, great, but his wife is the number one rev share team, whatever, top three, maybe not number one, top three at Real. Like, this, what's going to happen there? So it got dropped on my plate, and I was a hard no, Dave. I was like, I'm crushing it. Like, why would I do this? It's so like, no. However, what ended up happening was over the course of that year, the relationship still continued with Sisu and Leo and the team. And they're like, hey, we get it, Spring's at Real, but this is actually would be really good for our agents to have this as part of their tech stack. And we believe in it. So they continued down that relationship. At the same time, I was watching and I was like, wow, there are a lot of huge players. Like, there are people doing some big businesses at EXP. It's a different conversation. Like, I don't care what brokerage you're at. Like, the conversation is just totally different. And what truly happened is a lot of my growth, Dave, has come from people coming to my ecosystem, whether they're coming through coaching or they're coming through an event or they're coming through, I coach for Sisu. And so Sisu and EXP ended up putting together enterprise agreement to where every agent at EXP gets Sisu.
Right.
And Brian got 2,000 EXP agents on Sisu in a day at EXPCon. And Brian was like, Spring, EXP's on fire right now. Like, this event's insane. And I had just come home from Real's event and I just wasn't really feeling it, to be really honest with you. It wasn't anything wrong. It was a Spring thing, 100% Spring. And it just started maybe thinking, like, what am I not thinking of? Like, what am I not thinking of? Like, and at the same time, I was running the New York Marathon. I was training for it. So I was listening to the book 10X is Easier Than 2X. And there's a chapter in there, Dave, that they talk about this financial planner where he built this huge business, but he blows it up to start over and to grow something bigger. And I was like, could I grow something bigger if I had a platform that I could have an offer? Because at Real, you can't have an offer. Like, you're coming, it's one Real, you're offering Real. That's it. So I was like, can I go create a community and create an offering that people would want to be a part of? And I was like, you guys have line 6 and 7, which is massive. I was like, can I go create something to have a line 6 and 7? And I was like, could I go do this with my friends and not have any boundaries per se? Because EXP is very agent, entrepreneurial, eccentric, like, go grow, be you, right? And Real, I love them. And there's a lot of rules. They just want it to be one Real. Like, they want it to be, and I totally respect that. So it was just like the perfect storm of Brian and the Sisu, all of this. And so what ended up happening, Brian came home one day and he was like, Spring, I totally love that you're at Real. I respect it, like, 100%. But if you're going to stay at Real, then I need to, on Sisu, we need to have somebody else like be doing the coaching and training, because it's not fair the EXP is putting their agents through our stuff, and then they're getting fed to a real agent, you know? And he's like, it's just out of alignment for our family, Spring. I'm just not like, nobody would do that. Do you know what I mean? EXP wouldn't be like, here's a corporate agreement. We know they're going to go into a real funnel per se, you know? And he's like, we're just out of alignment. I said, you know what? You're right. Like, I'll get on the same bus as you. Like, let's go. So we just decided to go all in and on EXP. And I did start over. I am starting over. I think I just hit though, Dave. I think I just hit. I'm going to look here. I think I just got to over 200 agents in my rev share org, which it's been it's been 3.5 months. I think I've been here for 3.5 months, and it's feeling like home. Like for a little bit, I was like, I felt like a little bit of an outsider, and I would say they, and now I'm like, we. I've been texting Leo and a few people this morning. I'm like, I'm like, okay, I am in this. And one of my best friends just joined us yesterday via Williams.
Yeah, saw that.
Yeah. So, yeah, Dave, we're creating something cool. I'm proud to be EXP. I'm proud of what we're creating, I'm proud of what we're doing, and it's going to be a wild ride, and I'm here for it. So,
yeah. You know, I just want to tell you a little bit going along with what I've done. I was in a legacy brokerage, you know, one of those franchises. Everybody who knows me knows which one it was. And I got tired. I got exhausted by trying to do certain things. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the franchise. It just was not gelling. And of course I lost ambition and motivation. Sold that, you know, went with an independent for a while. And that was the expectations did not meet with reality. And then I had the opportunity to have a conversation with a guy by the name of Brett Sikora. Brett is the CEO and founder of Align, as you can see behind me. There's no EXP on my back, but Align is of course part of it. And I always kid with Brett that we were recruiting each other and he won. So I've started working with Align beginning at 24. And what I have is what I've always dreamed of, working with people that want to work, that want to grow. And if they don't, it's like, hey, you know what? This is great. You do what you want to do. You be you. What we're trying to do is we're trying to build people that just want to grow and just want to keep going, that get excited, that have the passion. And one of the things I've been able to do this year along with Align is get my passion at a higher level. And, you know, I'm not going to be in this business for 10 or 20 years anymore. I don't have a finite time, but I have a finite time how long I want to be in it. And now I'm in the right place, because it is where, you know, there's individuality, there's entrepreneurship, and it's like, yeah, you hear the rules and just go be you. And that's what's great about it. And what you're doing is just like, it's inspiring. And the program you ran about building that downline, which was also extremely cool. If you were someone in another, okay, so say you're recruiting and you're bringing people into EXP, people you don't know, people who don't know Spring Benson, what would you say to those people to, you know, to see if they have any interest of growing their business, either by themselves or with your coaching or coming over to this company? What would you say to them?
If they don't know me, and they're just curious about partnering with me or talking about EXP, like,
you would say, you know, do you want them to join either your coaching, join your team, or join EXP? You know, what's your avenues?
Yeah, no. So I'm very much like, I'm super abundant, and I'm very much what's good for somebody is good for me. So if you didn't know me, I would get to know you. Actually, I would be like, let's do some discovery to find out who you are and if we're in alignment. I'm not the right fit for everybody. And quite frankly, EXP is not the right fit for everybody. No. And my team's not the right fit for everybody. So I would say, like, if you're abundant and you're growth minded and you want to win, one of my core values is win or win more. One of my core values is that we're conscious, meaning like we're aware, right? And if you want to grow and you want to be surrounded with people who are high vibe with great intentions and you're willing to do the work, then let's do it, right? So I think that's the thing too, Dave. Like, in my whole time at Real and even at EXP, I've never recruited anybody. I've truly never have recruited. I've always attracted, because it's like people are going to be attracted. Life is a mirror, right? So people are
Right.
going to be attracted to who they are, what they want to do. And I think right now, and this is getting a little woo on you, but you'll appreciate it because of spring break. Like I'm vibrating at such a high frequency that like it's attracting the people who are like, yes, let's do this. And I'm also repelling the people that are like, oh no, she is like, if you heard that and if you're like, what the heck, then I'm probably repellent to you. Right. And so it's just been one of those things of, it's a woo woo answer for you of like, I'm going to go do some discovery and see if we're in alignment. But if you're high vibe, you want to grow, you want to win, you're conscious, like you're self-aware, you have emotional intelligence, then we are the community for you.
Yeah, and there's two types of ways to talk to people about working with you and partnering with you. And it's not, you just said people have been EXP'd on, and
Yeah.
that's when we're talking about those things such as stock and revenue share.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, they're nice.
Yeah.
I don't want to work with you if that's what you want to be based on. I want to work with you on, where do you want to grow? How can I help you grow? And can we do this together? Right.
Yep. Yep.
And that's a responsibility I have for anyone that comes into my ecosystem, as well as people that will come in, that I sponsor. We're up on time. I want to thank you so much for being on today. You just answered that great question of what people should look at and everything else. 1 second, and I'm just. We have your contact information up on the screen right now. I have two things left. One is the most important question I ask anybody on this broadcast, and that is, how do I help you grow your business?
Just being you, and I expect one of those hats. I see everybody gets a hat. What about me?
Well, this hat's coming out to you. This was the last thing that I do every broadcast. This is something that I've done, and notice that this says powered by Real Estate Skill Builder. That's this. It's just a little system that I have that I work on and I help agents with. I want to thank you, Spring, for coming on today. And I don't know if you knew this, who our guest is next week.
No, but I'm seeing it's my husband. Oh, you're in for a treat. Yeah. That's so cool.
So we have Brian coming on next week. That's going to be fun. I'm really excited about that. We got Brandon coming on in the future and some other great people. Spring, thank you so much for coming on. Just stay on for a second as we go out, everybody. We'll see you next week with Brian Charlesworth, the CEO and founder of Sisu. And thank you so much. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you.